About to head into a deadlift session. This is like my second to last deadlift workout before this competition. I found for strength training and just like general hypertrophy training, it works better for me when I do less frequency, low to moderate volume, but pushing the effort per set, like how close I'm going to failure or just how kind of hyped up I'm getting going into things. So I tend to get more out of that and it beats my joints up less. If I do sub-maximal, I plan on doing sub-maximal multiple sets, but I end up just overshooting. My body can't keep up. Things start to ache and it tends to not work out. Or I end up getting too fixated. I like hyper obsess over technique, and if my form is just perfect, if it looks just right, and then I'm like checking every set and trying again, and then I just end up doing way too much volume. Especially on something like a low bar squat, where you're like, the more time you're spending in that really just like jammed up shoulder position, it just messes up my arms quite a bit. It makes benching pretty tough. So the less time and the less amount of sets I can spend in that position, the better. But so that necessitates that you gotta like really get a lot out of those sets that you do. And yeah, it just all signs point to me doing less volume, but putting the effort higher. It helps me come back fresh into each workout and makes my technique feel good and makes me feel strong and fresh and motivated to train. I just, I've done the lifts a lot. I'm not saying that I'm like a master any of the big three, really. I'm not. But when I've done them enough that when I don't overthink my technique, and if my body's feeling good and strong and I feel fresh and I'm psychologically motivated, then that's when I have my best sets. And I like sometime last year, I did an all-time PR on high bar squats for reps, but it was just completely out of nowhere. It was my first time doing them in at least 6 months of like any kind of barbell back squat. I was just like hammering hack squats. And then I just instantly hit a PR. And now part of that's from hitting the quad weakness with the hack squats, but I didn't have to practice the back squat with the barbell. Now, if you don't know how to do it at all, then sure, but it's like any skill. It's like shooting a basketball or riding a bike. Like if you ingrained it so many times, especially if it was in your like younger years, teenage years, but if you've had tons of feedback loops on that movement, you can not do it for a long time and it'll still be there. Your skill decay, your rate of skill decay will be very slow. Long story short, that's why I only have like 2 deadlift workouts at the most, even though I have a little over 3 weeks before this meet. You gotta be fresh, you gotta be ready going into the meet, of course. And I need the time between sessions as well. I found if I'm doing heavy lifts, then I do better with like every other week of alternating hard squats and hard deadlifts every other week. Yeah, once every 2 weeks is of like a really hard deadlift session. And like I really can't even fuck around much with like lighter work or technique work or like variations on that in between week, because I just tend to overdo it. And you're like in this weird spot of like either you're gonna overdo it or you're doing like maybe mediocre work where you might have been better off recovering so that you could be ready for the next session. And then there's just so much overlap, especially if you're doing a conventional deadlift and a low bar squat. There's a lot of fatigue overlap there. And then for bench, it's like once a week. Like that's all I really need. So that's what we're gonna go do. I would talk and drive at the same time, but I like to blast some heavy metal. Get in the zone on the way there. So that's what we're gonna do now.
Okay, now we've magically teleported to the gym, and you're not seeing all the warm-ups before this, so cardio warm-up, stretching, and then doing deadlifts with empty bar, 1 plate, 2 plates, 3 plates, and now we're at 365. You got to take your time warming up, especially for heavy lifts like this. Even if you didn't do the little bit of cardio and some stretching beforehand, you got to do these warm-up sets because you got to make sure everything's feeling good. That's how you can gauge how strong you're feeling that day, how your body's feeling, and it acclimates your nervous system to the heavier and heavier weights. If you were to just jump right into your heavy weights right away, your performance is not going to be as good, and you are going to be risking getting injured. So that's the top set of deadlifts, and really that's the only set of deadlifts. Felt really good. That is all-time PR for reps. Just felt really snappy. You could see the hips coming forward and just standing up straight with the weight, not leaning back. So the glutes were really kicking in and doing their job. Now we're into some lat work and some tricep work. This is just kind of transitioned from what I was doing before I signed up for this meet. I was doing a back and triceps day and just put deadlifts on that day because it's obviously working back quite a bit, and just don't really want to do heavy squats and deadlifts on all in one leg day. So this is just a lever pull down machine. You can do a standard cable lat pull down, and you can do both sides at the same time. This one does feel nice doing one arm at a time. You can really line up the line of pull for the lat, which can be hard to do when you're working both sides together. I've done it both ways. They both feel good. Right now, just doing single arm. So that's it for the back there. Not even doing any rows or anything. We're prepping for a strength performance, so you can't be doing the same amount of volume you normally do for your normal training when you're trying to build muscle mass. You have to peel that stuff back so you can be fresh and strong for your deadlifts and training and for the competition. So that's why we're seeing lower and lower volumes on everything outside of the main lifts as I get closer to this competition. Okay, and since you can barely see anything in this camera angle that I got, this is dumbbell skull crushers, but we're doing it on a decline. Now, why would you do it on a decline? Well, it can give you a smoother resistance curve throughout the entire range of motion, where just because of that angle you can get against gravity with your upper arm, when you start to lock out a skull crusher normally, once you get towards the top, you're stacking the joints against gravity, so there's not really any resistance there. Well, this can change that. Now, what I could do better here is actually angle the arms back more and extend the weight up and back instead of straight up. So I'm kind of honestly canceling out some of the potential benefit of doing it on a decline here, looking back. But you'll see bodybuilders do that, of angling the skull crusher backwards a little bit to keep tension on the triceps so that the joints aren't completely stacked. This can let you do that kind of more naturally, and it can help take even more stress off the elbows. And since we're here, why not do some decline sit-ups, right? We're already locked in place. So while the triceps are resting, knocking some of these out, I am using the hip flexors intentionally to kind of anchor in and pull up a little bit, but then it's also, you're peeling the back, the spine off of the bench, from the top, upper back all the way down, and not sitting up all the way. I'm trying to get into kind of mimicking a deadlift start position almost. You can even see I'm doing that with my arms, and then holding it, trying to feel what that high amount of bracing tension feels like, since that's what I'm training for right now. And I'm really liking that, just doing that pause at the top, but not at the top where you can rest and you're not under any core tension. I'm coming up into that core tension and holding it there, and then coming back down. So here's another angle of that decline skull crusher, so you can get a little better idea of what's going on there. And it's not a night and day difference from doing it on a flat bench. It's just something to try out if you have a decline bench. This looks a lot less intense and more boring than kind of cranking out a bunch of sit-ups at a fast pace, right? Doing a bunch of reps. But challenge yourself and see if you can actually even hold that position. See if you can command any point in the range of motion. Or maybe you're just flinging through it so you don't have to face that weakness. So yeah, this set was tougher than I would have liked, and you can see some real sticking point and just instability and bar path getting, suboptimal. And then going for another set at 225 just to feel that weight out some more. I knew I'd be fatigued, but that was surprisingly fatiguing. Only got 2 reps. Part of that is because I paused both of those reps, and especially for me, doing that pause takes it's just a lot harder. Brings the amount of weight down I can use quite a bit. Even when I'm not bouncing the weight off my chest, just the deliberate pause really, it takes a lot of strength. But so here we're practicing that pause on each rep. And this is probably how I should just be training the bench press if it's for a powerlifting meet, since that's obviously a a weak point for me is staying strong and stable and explosive out of that pause. And here's the last set of bench press I did. Just went basically for an AMRAP just because it was the end. And this is the last. This is basically all I did. Really just a lot of benching. I just wanted to practice that movement. Probably overdid it, to be honest, but yeah, there's not much else to show from this session. Again, this is like last hard upper body session before a powerlifting meet, so you're not doing a whole lot of extra volume on top of that. And then the day after, going into squats, if I'm training for powerlifting, that probably means I'm doing some low bar squats, because that's what I'm going to do in the competition. And that will tend to mess up my bench press pretty badly from just forearm and arm pain, just from that kind of jammed up and torqued position you get into. Yeah, I can improve that with some improved rotation in the shoulder, external rotation mobility, and just getting the bar to actually be, holding the bar with my back and not as much in my hands. And some of that also has to do with making sure you're leaned forward enough, even when you're unracking the weight, and staying leaned over a little bit in a low bar squat. Because if you try to stay too upright, well, the bar's so far back on your back and on your rear delts that you have to hold it into your arms. Anyway, you're seeing right now I'm doing high bar because the bar's higher up on my back. Okay, it's on top of my shoulder blades essentially. Again, I'm trying to minimize how much time I'm spending in that low bar position. So a lot of my warm-ups I will do high bar, and then I'll start mixing in a little bit of low bar just to feel it out, but kind of alternate between. You can also see I'm doing squats down to a box here, just to make sure that I'm really sitting into my hips and not just trying to only use my quads to squat the weight up. And then alternating that with free squats, as you see here, and immediately going into the free squat so that I reinforce that technique and make sure that it stays the same even when there's not a box to squat down to. So here's the first time you're gonna see me doing the low bar squat, and that just means that the bar's resting lower on my back. So there's no strict definitions. It's kind of a continuum of, higher on your back and lower on your back. But I think of it as high bar really being the bar is sitting on top of your shoulder blades, on top of that upper border of your scapula. So it's really sitting on your traps. And then low bar is when it's below that upper border of your scapula. Like when you're trying to set the bar position, that's kind of where you want it under that upper border, that bony protrusion, and you want to get it sitting kind of on the meat of your rear delts. The long story short here is you would do this to be able to squat more weight. If you're training for being able to squat as much weight as you can from point A to point B, as you are in a powerlifting meet, then you might consider doing that. There can be a trade-off if it hurts your shoulders so much that it affects your bench training, and that's kind of something you have to weigh the pros and cons of, or improve your low bar position to where it doesn't bother your shoulders so much. And it does shift some of the load more into your hips and less on your quads. So if you're more of a hip dominant lifter, then that's going to help there. But really the main thing this does is it makes the lift easier on your upper back. Most people are going to really be limited on a squat, like a high bar squat especially, from their being able to maintain their upper back position. Because of where the weight is positioned, it's essentially trying to tip you forward and round your mid and upper back. And you're trying to prevent that and stay at the same back angle through the entire lift. Now this is the heaviest I went on this day. This is 365. Didn't really know where I would be as far as strength on this day, and I was just gonna go for as many reps as I felt that I could safely here. So what the side angle really shows is you can see that bar drifts forward, and it's because I'm too upright at the beginning. I should have gotten a little more leaned forward and just set the right back position over the middle of my foot, and then just stayed there the whole time. So replaying this again, I wanted to go for more reps. We called it at 1 because it just wasn't feeling great. It's not like it moved incredibly slowly, but didn't move as fast as I wanted to for me to go for an AMRAP. It would have just been digging a deeper fatigue hole to recover out of leading up to this meet. And part of that's due to that deadlift session that I did a few days prior. Ideally, I would have had more time in between these two heavy sessions, but I was also trying to balance the amount of recovery time I have from this last heavy session before the meet, because you want to come in as fresh as you can. That's it for this one, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and after the meet, I'll put together a meet recap video, so stay tuned for that.